evening and welcome to the Ulster Hall in Belfast for amateur boxing's big night of the year, the Ulster Championship Senior Finals. And there's added incentive this year because the boxers know that winning a title could well book their passport to Canada, where the Commonwealth Games are being held in August. All right, let's see some boxing. Your commentator at ringside is Jim Neely.
It really has been great to see a light flyweight contest here in the Ulster Hall. We haven't had one now for some 3 years, and Colin Moffat, the holder of the title by virtue of a walkover last year, the youngster in red from the Holy Family Golden Gloves, just 18 years old, has got a pretty comprehensive lead over Pat Cosgrove from the Cavan Amateur Boxing Club, the man in blue, who's twice been an Ulster light flyweight champion, 1987, on a walkover incidentally, and in 91. And all the pressure boxing has come from Colin Moffat. He really has worked very hard. He's been very good inside. And the Cosgrove corner has been spoken to for a little bit of chat. And Moffat looking very confident. He forced Cosgrove to take a standing 8 count at the end of the second round. And he pressurized right from the beginning of the second bell. A lot of blood coming from the nose of Pat Cosgrove. He's trailing by 10 points on the computer scoring. 15-5 in favour of Moffat at the end of the second round. And Jerry Daly having a good look and a good little wipe, but nothing too serious. The plastic bags in the neutral corners. So box on. That'll add another 20 seconds or so to the scheduled 3 minutes. So the Turkington Cup at stake for the 48-kilogram division. Colin Moffat has brought that here to the Ulster Hall by virtue of a walkover last year, and unless it all goes wrong for him, he's going to take it away with him again, because 10 points is a lot for Pat Cosgrove to make up, and the 18-year-old is piling it on. And that's the second. Pat Cosgrove, I think, disagrees. And there's a confident young man. 19 in April he'll be, Colin Moffat. Another good right, and that's the second one. And Jerry Daly not taking any chances whatsoever. Should there be a third 8 count or even a hint of it, he can stop this contest in this, the third round. Best part of a minute remaining, and Colin Moffat would like to be the first man in the past 3 years to win the light flyweight title in the ring. And wouldn't it be nice for him if he could do it with a stoppage? He's well ahead in points. Moffat bouncing up and down, hands held very high. Reminiscent, one has to say, of Wayne McCulloch in the late 80s. Just about 30 seconds remaining. And Pat Cosgrove having some trouble with the head guard. Some of them fit particularly well, and his obviously doesn't. Don't forget, 2 8 counts against Cosgrove in this, the third and final round. One more would end it completely. The man from Cavan may just have done enough to hang on, but he certainly hasn't done enough to win this contest. This is a very busy youngster. Cosgrove holding on the blind side of the referee. And the bell imminent. And I have no doubt that at the end of 3 very good rounds of light flyweight boxing, the 18-year-old Colin Moffat will take home the Turkington Cup as he did last year, but this time he's earned it in the ring.
And holder of the Turkington Cup, Moffat in the red corner.
Yes, Paul Moffat conceded just 1 computer point in the last 2 rounds on a very impressive victory, and he goes back with the light flyweight title, but this time he's won it inside the ropes. Well, just over a minute to go in this, the third and final round of the flyweight final for the Ryan Cup. The man who won it in 2 successive years, 91 and 92, Damien Kelly in red from the Holy Family. 11-4 up on computer scoring at the end of the second against Eamon Brannigan, last year's beaten finalist. And the class of Kelly just coming through. Hasn't really extended himself, it seems, Kelly. But that's due to a very aggressive performance by Eamon Brannigan. Kelly didn't enter last year, but went on to win the Irish senior title, having failed in attempts at that in the 2 previous years. That's a good right hand from Kelly, and he has got through in this last round when it matters most. Just about 15 seconds remaining, and Kelly looking composed and comfortable, and heading for his 3rd Ulster senior flyweight title in 4 years. And there's the bell, and there's a little touch of gloves, and the man there in red, I think, is the man who's going to take this title.
Smithwick's Ulster Senior Flyweight Champion for 1994 and holder of the Ryan Cup by computer scoring of 27, Kelly in the right corner.
Yeah, not much doubt about that. A man who's fancied to do well in Victoria, Damien Kelly, takes his 3rd title by a decent scoring margin.
Mr. Terry Jones.
If the 3rd and final round of this bantamweight division, the 54-kilogram men, goes the way of the first 2, then it's going to be a first Ulster senior title for the man in red, the 18-year-old Adrian Patterson from St. Pat's in Newry. He's leading by computer scoring 10-2 against Ken Lodge's Tommy Waite, the 21-year-old, the shorter man in blue, who just hasn't been able to come to terms with the long southpaw right lead of Adrian Patterson. Waite, last year's beaten finalist at bantam to Frank Slane, and lost in 91 and 92 in the flyweight finals to Damien Kelly of the Holy Trinity, and has won Ulster senior title in 5 appearances in this ring. Was in 1990, when he was also the Irish flyweight champion. But in Adrian Patterson, Waite has met a man who is amazingly tall for a bantamweight. Well, Waite ignored a good left hand and came inside and got in one of his own. The first 2 rounds were pretty interesting, and this promises to be even better. Just over a minute gone in the 3rd. Jack Poucher, one of the most experienced referees in the business, off to Korea soon to do some officiating there, and the man who was voted the best boxer in Barcelona at the Olympics last year. 92, I should say. Well, once again, Patterson forcing the pace and causing Waite untold problems with that reach of his. A little bit of blood, I think, coming from the nose of Tommy Waite. Jack Poucher minus the moustache in recent weeks. And there's the young man, Adrian Patterson, who boxed for Ireland in the European Juniors in Greece. Was actually stopped in the first, somewhat unlucky, caught with the classic sucker punch by Graveluk of Moldova. Took an 8 count, and the referee decided that it was a hard punch. Patterson on the retreat, but still picking his man off. My goodness, what a flurry. And Jack Poucher saying, very impressive, son, but try to hit with the knuckle part of the glove. But it really is all academic, because Adrian Patterson, at 18, will be taking his first Ulster senior title, and in a pretty impressive fashion.
The Smithwick's Ulster Senior Bantamweight Champion for 1994 and holder of the Hannah Cup by computer scoring of 17-6, Patterson in the right corner.
Yes, former Ulster youth and junior champion now becomes for the first time an Ulster senior champion, and the 54-kilogram king is Adrian Patterson from Newry.
By Peter Lockhart.
Paul Aaron, the defending senior champion at featherweight, the 57-kilogram division, had a fair bit to do in the 2nd round. He turned a 5-3 deficit in favour of his opponent in red, Jim Conlon from the Holy Trinity, into an 11-6 lead So the man who boxed for Northern Ireland in Auckland in the Commonwealth Games 4 years ago looks as if he's going to retain, if he can certainly maintain that points differential, his Sayers Ulster Cup. He's been the champion at featherweight for the past 2 years, beating Paul Ferris in successive finals. Lost in the final of the 91 lightweight division to Mark Winters, and lost the year before that at Bantam to Johnson Todd from Ballyclare, who incidentally had beaten Jim Conlon from Holy Trinity on the way to the final. So just over 2 minutes remaining, and it's Jim Conlon in red and the defending champion Paul Ireland in blue. And Ireland, from about midway through the second round, gradually stepped up the pace. He was a little bit cautious in the first, as he was indeed in the semi-final in the Dockers Club. It was more a slip from Conlon rather than anything that Ireland threw at him there. Bobby Spears breaks them up. Again, Ireland missing with that left. He hasn't thrown too many. He did land a very good one at the end of the second. And you can see the urgency in Ireland's work. He's getting quite frustrated by Conlon, who hasn't let him settle at all. Nice footwork by Conlon, who evaded his man well, and clipped him around the ear with a nice little left. Step back when you're told to break from Bobby Spears. Conlon a fair old bit to do to make up that 5 points difference. That was a good right hand as Ireland came in. Conlon, however, holding on the blind side of the referee. Into the final minute. Well, this really has been scrappy. I think we expected a little bit more of this final in terms of boxing skills. Well, Ireland's inaccuracy has been evident, although he has had the higher work rate. Half a minute remaining. Ireland going into the body. He's done some good work inside. He's very strong, having boxed for some periods on and off at lightweight, the division above this. In fact, he was Irish lightweight champion in 1991. Great footwork again from Conlon, and a little bit of wildness and indiscipline about Ireland's work, but one feels that he's done enough to hold on to his title. There it is, and Paul Ireland says, well, it wasn't the best contest of my career, but perhaps I've still got my title.
The winner and Smithwick's Ulster Senior Featherweight Champion and holder of the Sayers Cup for 1994 by computer scoring of 14-9, Ireland in the blue corner.
As honours even in the third and final round, but 5 points between them, and Paul Ireland is the featherweight champion for the third successive year. So the man in red, Paul Ferris from Newhill, may have to be content with yet another runners-up spot in these Ulster finals. This is his fourth successive one. He's lost in 3 previous, and he's 17-4 behind to the boy in blue, Martin Redigan from St Patrick's, Katie Armagh. And Redigan has boxed most impressively. 10-1 at the end of the first, the computer scoring revealed, and 17-4 at the end of the second. So Redigan did something to extend his lead. Jerry Daly brings them together once again. The 1992 National Intermediate Champion is Martin Redigan. 33-10 over the Phoenix Club's Paul Holmes, and that's no mean feat. Great support have come from County Armagh from Martin Redigan. Needless to say, Newhill's Paul Ferris has a lot of people behind him. He just signs in this third round that the 19-year-old Redigan tiring ever so slightly, because he's forced the pace considerably. We're just sort of looking left from Ferris. Redigan trying to keep away from him now. That's where Redigan doesn't want to be, and that's in the corner. Oh, beautifully turned, and a nice counter, left and a right, and another good right. There's the right again. Paul Ferris, an Irish international, has had his hands more than full with this up-and-coming youngster from County Armagh. It was more of a slap than anything from Renigan with the left. Lovely variation from Renigan. The little uppercut and then the hook. He shortened the punch, but illegally so, says Jerry Daly. A slap. It's got to be with the knuckle part of the glove. And modern gloves have got that well illustrated in white. About 20 seconds remaining. Well, Paul Ferris has been right in Martin Renigan's face all the way through this. And it's only by some very good boxing that Renigan has gone ahead as far as he has. He's used a distinct reach advantage very well all the way through, and Paul Ferris, I think, knows that that man in blue, Martin Renigan, at 19 and in his first senior final, is going to take his first Ulster senior title.
The Smithwick's Ulster senior lightweight champion for 1994 and holder of the Shouldice Cup by computer scoring of 23-7, Renahan in the blue corner.
Yes, Martin Renahan, his first final, his first title, 23-7. So 16 computer points the difference, and he looks confident. And here's a young man one feels will go far.
Good stuff. Well, one of the big fights here tonight, the fans really looking forward to this one, features Eamon Magee from Ardoyne against Mark Winters of Antrim. So let's pick that one up now with commentary again from Jim Neely.
Eamon Magee in red, the 1989 silver medalist in the World Championships and gold medalist in Rome that same year in a top multinationals event. Leads the man in blue, Mark Winters, by 5-4 on the computer scoring at the end of the first round. Not sure altogether that I would have agreed with that. Well, nice little attack by Winters, but the punch is not really landing with any great force. Magee very much on the retreat. Magee did have a little spell at welterweight, but looks much stronger at light welter. And Winters has moved up from light. He seems to be coping reasonably well with the extra 3.5 kilograms. Eamon Magee hasn't lost at domestic level since the Ulster senior final in 1991 when he lost to Eddie Fisher. Oh, a good left by Winters, and I think he may have closed the gap in this, the second round. 5-4, remember, to Magee at the end of the first. Was more of a slap from Winters. Interesting, it's been Winters who seems to have been forcing the pace, because normally that's the forte of Eamon Magee. He certainly did that in his 2 final defeats to Eddie Fisher and came off second best. Snappy little jab from the left of Eamon Magee. Winters coming through with a forearm, and don't do that, says Sean Canavan. There's a good jab. I'm not surprised the pace has slowed down a little bit in the second round, because the first was very brisk. Another good right from Winters as he comes forward. Just about 10 seconds remaining at the end of the second, and it could all well go down to the third and final round, and that's the way perhaps it should be in these senior finals. And another good round, and there's two Irish international teammates acknowledging each other's expertise. That's a good attack by Winters. Magee got away from the right, but couldn't escape the left. Well, there's been a turnaround at the end of the second. Magee led 5-4 in the computer scoring at the end of the first, and Winters picked up 4 points to Magee's 1, so it's 8 for Winters and 6 for Magee. And Eamon Magee, champion here 2 years ago, a fair old bit to do now, but 2 points at this level is not a great deal. Sean Canavan giving a little caution, not a warning, remember, to Mark Winters, the man in blue from the Antrim Boxing Club. Both of them Irish internationals. And teammates last September in Bursa in Turkey at the European Seniors. Ireland just sent 4 boxers, 3 of them from Ulster, these two. Magee at light welter, Winters at light, and Damien Kelly was the third Ulsterman. And Winter just being first to the punch, and it's not often you see Eamon Magee put on the back foot like that and put under pressure. Well, there is of course the possibility that Winters might opt to move down to lightweight in terms of Commonwealth selection, but if he's happy enough and successful at light welter, then I suppose why should he? A trickle of blood coming from the nose of Eamon Magee. And it's Winters who's looking the more composed and confident. Good footwork by Magee. Magee breathing a little bit heavily. Got very scrappy in this third and final round. Remember, just 2 points between them. 8 to Winters, 6 to Magee. 8 for blue, 6 for red at the end of the second. A minute to go. And 3 or 4 good scoring punches could make the difference, and Winters will need to watch himself, because if he does that once more and Sean Canavan gives him a warning, it's going to cost him a round, and that may well cost him the contest. About 30 seconds remaining, and much more tentative than they have been all the way through. Winters not landing. He did get him with a left as Magee came in, and it's Magee who's looking the more tired. Winters has come forward. That's a bit of slapping again, I think. It's a much more low-key Eamon Magee than I've seen for some time. And a good little flurry by Winters, and that may just have been enough to maintain the differential and deny Eamon Magee a second title and give Mark Winters a 4th successive Ulster Championship title, but the first at light welter.
The Smithwick's Ulster's senior light welterweight champion for 1994 and holder of the Hugh Pritchard Cup by computer scoring 12-8, Winters in the blue corner.
Yes, I don't think Eamon Magee can complain about that. Very good second and very good third gives Mark Winters a 4th successive Ulster title, and he goes home with the Hugh Pritchard Cup for the light welterweight division. The third and final round of what's been a very absorbing welterweight final, the 67-kilogram division. The Maguire Cup at stake, currently property of the man in red, Eddie Fisher from Holy Trinity, but he has an awful lot to do because the big fella in blue, the 19-year-old Neil Sinclair from Holy Family, will be 20 later on this month, is leading after 2 rounds by 12-4 on the computer scoring, and that's a lot for Fisher to make up. He had to work very hard to come through in the semi-finals and just about did it. He may have to stop his man, and I don't think he's got the firepower to do that against Sinclair. Sinclair has picked him off with that lovely, lovely left lead all the time, and the right has come in and scored to head and body. Fisher needs an overwhelming third and final round, and he won't get it like that, although there's a little trickle of blood coming from the nose of Neil Sinclair. Sinclair might be better advised to move and box. Good left from Fisher, and Sinclair comes back with a couple of his own. What a good third and final round this is. I wonder, does Eddie Fisher realise that he's so far behind? Sinclair looks very fit. Midway through the third, Fisher pressing all the time. But 8 points to make up is an awful lot. Remember, at the end of the second, it was Fisher 4 and Sinclair 12. Now the tiredness just perhaps getting to Neil Sinclair. It's momentum taking him right past Fisher. So Fisher in his 7th successive Ulster final, heading, it would seem, for a third defeat, unless in the last minute he can produce one big punch. And the Hawkins brothers in his corner really encouraging him to do just that. Sinclair holding on. He's got very tired at the end. And does Fisher have time to stop this? Well, Sinclair has outpointed him, and Fisher's going to have to out-punch him to win this. 30 seconds remaining. What a great last round of boxing. Sinclair holding on the blind side of the referee for all he's worth. He's spoken to about it. Sinclair tiring visibly by the second. And there are about 15 seconds remaining. And I don't believe that Fisher, despite this storming third round, has done enough. And he's still getting caught occasionally by the 19-year-old Sinclair. Sinclair, a nasty smear of blood underneath his nose, but nothing to worry about. And what will worry Fisher is going to be the loss, I think, of his Ulster senior welterweight title. And what a good final. And Eddie Fisher, I'm sure, will be the first to congratulate the man whom I'm sure has won this, the 19-year-old from the Holy Family, Neil Sinclair.
The Smithwick's Ulster senior welterweight champion for 1994 and holder of the Magee Cup by computer scoring of 14-7, Sinclair in the blue corner.
Yes, Eddie Fisher won the last round, but the first 2 rounds were so impressive by Neil Sinclair, and no wonder the new Ulster senior welterweight champion is absolutely delighted. Jim Webb, the defending champion, in red, and Brian Magee in blue, both from the Holy Trinity Club, both southpaws, touch gloves. At the start of this, the third and final round in the 71-kilogram division. That's the light middles for the RUC Cup, which Webb holds. And it's 4 points apiece on the computer scoring. So either way, the RUC Cup will go back to the Holy Trinity. But will Jim Webb be taking a 5th Ulster title, or will it be a first in his first senior final for the 18-year-old Brian Magee? Webb's experience against the style of Brian Magee. Webb has been almost a regular fixture in these Ulster senior finals since his first title win in 1987 as a welterweight. He's fluctuated between welterweight and light middle.
Stop.
And it's all down to this, the third and final round, and Webb, I think, realizes that. And although he's the one who's been coming forward, Magee has done some rather nice boxing on the retreat. Webb doing a little bit of holding. Yes, you're holding from Bobby Spears. A minute remaining. Brian Magee in the semi-finals defeated Anthony McFadden, who was last year's beaten finalist. So Magee in blue, the 1993 national junior champion, and the year before that the national intermediate champion, looking to pick up his first senior title. And it's going to be very, very close indeed. 2 apiece at the end of the first, 4 apiece at the end of the second. And most scoring has indicated that there haven't been too many very clean shots landed. It certainly hasn't been any lack of effort. Just a matter of seconds left, and it's going to be a very brave man who's going to predict the outcome of this. Well, that was one final punch, and I wonder, is that enough to give it to Brian Magee? Well, well.
Smithwick's Ulster senior light middleweight champion for 1984 and holder of the RUC Cup by computer scoring 8-6. Webb in the red corner.
Well, there's the customary jump of delight from Jim Webb, and a certain amount of relief, you've got to say. A much more aggressive last round from him gives him his 5th Ulster senior title, and this his 8th final. The judges scored the second round of this middleweight final at 75 kilograms, even, 6 points apiece. But the accumulative scoring after 2 rounds still sees the champion, the taller man in red, Danny Ryan from Rafo, ahead by 10 points. 10-0 up after the first, and he allowed Richard Duras to come back into it. Or, to be totally fair to Richard Duras, the chunky man in blue from Inniskillen, he forced himself back into this and did catch the defending champion a couple of times, most noticeably with very good left hands. Ryan a little flustered by those and didn't like it one little bit. And that's what Ryan doesn't want to do with Duras. Duras will stand and do that all evening. Thank you very much. And that's what Ryan is best at, moving and jabbing. A minute gone in the third and final round, and Danny Ryan, champion here for the past 2 years, didn't have to box at all last year, got a walkover. Nobody was too keen to take him on at this division. The previous year stopped Chris Cullen, and having stopped before that Stephen Kirk, who went on to win the 93 light heavy title. Ryan rated very much a certainty for the Northern Ireland Commonwealth Games team, and 1 or 2 people feel that he will certainly be among the medals. He rested on his laurels perhaps after the first round. And Duras has come back into it. Ryan looking now more composed than he did in the second. Some blood coming from the nose and mouth of Richard Duras. Sean Canavan having a look. And the tissue going into the plastic bag in the neutral corner. And back they come again. So still about a minute remaining to see whether or not the Sayers Dublin Cup will go back to Rafo with Danny Ryan, or whether it will go to County Fermanagh and to Enniskillen's Richard Duras. Ryan, I think. Duras has performed remarkably well in the last 6 minutes of this, his first ever Ulster senior final. And it really is a tough nut. Ryan, it doesn't seem, has hurt him at all. Oh, and a good left by Duras, and that caught Ryan. And Ryan not too flustered by it. Had that happened in the first round when Duras was fresh, well, one can only speculate. Well, he'll get a lot of support, Richard Duras. The underdog always does. And they slap hands, and he's put in a great performance. A fine last 6 minutes of boxing, but he had to come back from 10-0 behind. And Danny Ryan on his way to a third successive middleweight title.
And the Smithwick's Ulster senior middleweight champion for 1994 and holder of the Sayers Cup by computer scoring of 21-10, Ryan in the right corner.
Well, there was only 1 point between them over the last 2 rounds, but Danny Ryan's 10-0 lead at the end of the first sent him on his way to a third successive 75-kilogram division title here in the Ulster Hall. The defending champion in red from the Cairn Lodge Club in Belfast, the taller of the two, Stephen Kirk, leading Kevin Doherty from the Ring Club in Derry, the man in blue, by 6 points to 2 at the end of an interesting first round. Doherty marked very slightly under both eyes, the mark under the right eye worse, and he took a body shot there, and down he goes in one knee, and that'll be an 8 count. And that's a rare 8 count inflicted by a body shot that you tend to see in amateur boxing. Good left by Kirk, and Doherty having to hold on. Again, the blood coming down the right nostril of Stephen Kirk, the defending champion, the man who really ambushed big Mark Delaney last year in the final, stopping the 3-times champion in the second. And Doherty a little bit illegal, swinging his man round, and he's blowing fairly heavily, Kevin Doherty. He really, at 28 years old, the second oldest in the finals, hasn't had a lot of boxing behind him. Another good right from Kirk. And again, that's going to be a second 8 count. And if there's one more, that will be the end of this 1994 Ulster Senior Light Heavyweight final. There'll be a little breather for Kevin Doherty as Jerry Daly wipes away some blood from the nose and mouth of Stephen Kirk, the champion. Cairn Lodge's club. So plenty of time for Kirk to end this contest, if he can do it. That wasn't a bad right, and I think that's going to be it. Yep. So Kevin Doherty at 28 in his first senior final, and that's a third 8 count, and the referee has said, I'm sorry, Kevin, you'll have to go back to your corner. And Stephen Kirk retains the title he won last year, not with a knockout, but with a stoppage. And sympathy to Kevin Doherty, and well done to Stephen Kirk. The man in red, the defending Ulster Senior Heavyweight Champion, Paul Douglas from the Holy Family Golden Gloves, is 20 points on the computer, scoring better off than his opponent, Nick Okasili, the 25-year-old in blue from Clonoe, County Tyrone. 21-1 at the end of 2 fairly torrid rounds. And Douglas's experience and strength and know-how just a little bit too much for the relatively inexperienced Okasili, who at 25 has only had about a dozen or so amateur contests and is in his first senior final. The pair of them were due to meet in the Ulster semis in '91, but Okasili withdrew. Douglas, this is his 10th Ulster senior final since his first way back in 1984, when he was the light heavyweight champion. At just 20, defeated Eamon Magee, who's gone on to do pretty well in the professional ranks. So to that light heavyweight title, Douglas has added 1 super heavy title, and 6 times he's taken home the McAlevey Cup for the heavyweight division, the 91-kilogram class. Douglas in red. Oh, that was a good shot. And Jack Croucher in straight away. That really got through. Sometimes Paul Douglas doesn't hit all that desperately cleanly, but that was a very clean shot, despite what the crowd think. Right through the guard, and Jack Croucher was absolutely correct. So that's the second 8 count for Okasili. He had won in the first midway through. And we're now midway through the third and final round, and Douglas cruising, if you could say that about Paul Douglas, to yet another Ulster senior title. The uppercut went in there, and another right. Jack Fosher said, yeah, that's quite enough. So Paul Douglas, well, I don't know what they're booing for. He did exactly what he had to do, and that's to retain his Ulster senior title, and a good finish by Douglas. The defending super heavyweight champion, the man in red, William Clyde from Ballyclare, the 26-year-old, well behind at the end of the first round, dumped in the seat of his pants by his opponent wearing blue from the Holy Family and Golden Gloves, Darren Corbett, who'll be 22 in July and contesting his first ever Ulster senior final. So 13-2 in favour of Corbett at the end of the first round on the computer scoring system. Corbett, the reigning Irish national senior champion, and Clyde trying to do to Corbett what Corbett did to Clyde in the first. Almost with the very first punch of the contest, Clyde was on the seat of his pants and took an 8 count. And his punching has been sharper. Well, that's another good one, and William Clyde can find himself in a little bit of bother. Clyde, this is his 6th Ulster senior final. He's won twice, 91 and 93, both against Colin Robinson. And he's got to go some to retain this title. Another good right hand and a second. Oh, and Corbett really is putting them together. And Corbett's been told to go and stand in the neutral corner, and it's a long time since I've seen William Clyde under this sort of pressure. Paul Douglas inflicted a defeat on him when he moved up to super heavy. That's the second 8 count. The first in this, the second round. Remember, a third 8 count signifies the end of the contest automatically in amateur boxing. Midway through the second, Corbett trying to land again with a right, but he's done so with the left, and Clyde, well, 11 points adrift, and really being outgunned at this stage by the big man from the Holy Family and Golden Gloves. Clyde looks an awful lot trimmer and an awful lot fitter than he has done for some of his super heavyweight finals. Does have that tendency to leave himself open. A minute left in the second. Well, Clyde yet again has done well to come back from an 8 count. And now it's Corbett who's under pressure. Well, what a turnaround, and Corbett spits the gum shield out. And he's taken an 8 count, and I think Corbett deliberately spat that out, which of course is not permitted. If that does too often, then you can get yourself penalised. Well, no boxing will be allowed until the gum shield has been replaced. So what a turnaround. William Clyde, 8 count against him in the first, 8 count against him in the second, and then turns round and puts the pressure right back on the man in blue, Darren Corbett from the Holy Family. Oh, what a left hand, and that is the end of it, and I hope William Clyde is all right. Well, Corbett had taken an 8 count and his gum shield had come out. They came straight back together, and what about that for a punch? And a big man like William Clyde almost left the canvas completely.